Hello, my fellow Ugandans. Now, some of you, you've been asking me, Mr. Michael, one of the things in your manifesto was your constitutional reforms. You wanted to do constitutional reform. So, what about the constitutional reform? Yes, I realized that most of the things that we are going through as the people in this country is that most of our challenges is coming from the constitutions. Now, you may ask yourself why, but now here I want to explain for you why I placed constitution as one of my reforms. One is that during the time of the formation of the 1995 constitutions, not every part of the region within the country has been part of the formations, because by then northern Uganda was still in some war of instability. Of course, eastern Uganda the same, West Nile was the same, and other part of the west also were having some instability. But also on top of that, not every civil society organizations, political party were given freedoms to also have a big say and anything about the constitution. If I'm wrong, those who were there at the time of Kabaka Yeka, DP, and UPC, they can prove me wrong, and they can also tell the rest of the people. Of course, we all understand that according to Ugandan constitution, the 1962 constitutions gave much power to Kabaka of Buganda by then, who was the head of state, and Obote was the prime minister. And then, when Obote took over the power and Uganda became a republic, of course, Obote transformed the 1962 to 1967 constitutions, and which he gave much of the power to him as the president. And the rest of all the other presidents, what happened is they also did the same. They sustained themselves within the 1967 constitutions until the time Museveni took power. So all of you understand that when Museveni took power, he ruled Uganda for 10 years under what we call the National Resistance Councils. Okay? But in 1994, as they were coming up with the plan of the constitutional reforms to bring a new constitution into place, where with the hope of bringing back the democracy systems and allowing the people to get involved in the running of their states. That is when it was unfair completely. Not every region, not every civil organization, every political party were given opportunity to exercise their duty as part of the constitutional formations. But also the other thing that maybe people, most of you didn't know, is that it was the 1967 constitution. It was just modernized completely and transformed it as somehow better into 1995 constitutions. Now that is where the problem came from. Now you're asking yourself, how will corruption end in this country? You're asking yourself, how will the human rights violations end in this country? It is impossible. Why? Because the constitutions give much of the power to the presidents. Because when you look at everything where in the constitution, in 1995 constitution said, the president shall, the president shall, the president shall. Not the house, not the people of Uganda, not anything else. But even if the constitution itself indicate that all the power belongs to the people, but we're seeing the power does not belong to the people. You get the point? So when we talk of the human right violations, you can't talk of human right abuse in the country that it will be free and fair if the Human Rights Commissions is being appointed by the president. For example, if I'm your boss and appointed you as a Human Rights Commissioner, what would you do? Will you work for the people or you work for me? If the president still has the power to appoint the Chief Justice, do you expect unfair treatment of the law in this country? So forget about it. You will never be treated unfairly because someone is working for someone. You get the point? 3, if the president still has the power to appoint the IGP, the Inspector of General Police, that one forget it, because don't expect the police to act all the time free and fair to protect the laws and order within this country and also support the justice systems. You get the point? So if the president still has the power to appoint the chief of defense force, the CDF, then never have any mindset that the soldiers in this country will never be part of the interference of the work of the police in this country. So now you see that this country itself, the problem we are going through, it's the constitutions. You get the point? So even if you go and protest, even if you go and shout, my brothers and sisters, if the politicians does not want to help us, then that's why I'm asking you guys, why can we come together in form of alliance and we raise this complaint into parliament, into judiciary system, into other civil organization, into other European leaders, that they can help us, that maybe something better needs to come. That's why my agenda was the constitutional reform was necessary, very important, because it's the key that drive this country. It's the key that help this country move forward. So without a better constitutions, we will not have that journey that we all want to have. The freedoms of speech, the freedom of expressions, the freedoms of gathering, all this kind of thing will not be fully given to exercise. Of course, you understand the country is being run under what we call the authoritarian democratic systems. So what do you expect? Where there is also authoritarian rule, but also there's also democratic rules. So for us to have all this system change, we need to work and forth for that reforms. Then the other thing is that we the people needs to work together is to focus on building our own democracy systems. I say it, for us, if we keep on copying the democracy system from other countries, like the democracy system in USA, Canada, and China, and so on, or UK, those people, they have built that democracy system for centuries. You get the point? So it is us in Africa, or in the people within this country, for us to build our own democracy systems. And by doing that, of course, we will build our own society that understands our own rules and regulations, our own constitutions, and make this country a better place. So you understand what I'm trying to say. So it's just one thing. I'm not saying that it's a bad thing, but we will need to come together. That we need to, for us, all this problem that you guys are talking about, the human rights violation, the unfair justice system, and so on, within the court of law, all these other kind of thing, and too much money given to politicians, and also can also be transformed if we have a better constitution. So those are some of my agenda why I wanted to have constitutional reform as part of my agenda in 2026-2031 as a president. When you check out to my manifesto, you see one of my executive order in the 100 days. It was very clear. It was part of them to order for the constitutional reforms. Apart from that, that is it. I will be, of course, explaining the rest of some of my manifestos, highlights of the big six. Yeah, this is one of them, which was the constitutional reforms. Yeah, if I will go through one step at a time to make sure that you also get to understand the reason why I was running for president, not just for the sake of other people who were making noise and shouting and looking for money. That wasn't me. Anyway, that's the journey, and let's move forward for a better Uganda. Thank you guys so much.